All right. So my name's Tina Anderson. Prior to Booth, I worked at Google. Prior to that, I worked with an anti-sex trafficking project in Mumbai. My goal today is to inform you and to motivate you because this is a problem in the US, but it's not something we can't do anything about. So when you work in the field of anti-trafficking, you see this number a lot. This 27 million, it's the number of estimated people who are in bondage either by sex trafficking, forced labor, or some other sort of situation in the world today. This is higher than the number of slaves that were being transported at the height of the African slave trade. This is a picture from the first brothel that I was ever in. The Indian government estimates that there are 3 million children in the sex trade in India. I think a fact that's fairly well known. People know about foreign sex trafficking. But what does it look like in the US? In the US, it usually looks like this. Teenager runs away from home, falls in love with a guy sells her. That's what it looks like. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of some of the details of some of that today, but I'm not going to talk about these things. This is a very emotionally charged topic. I don't want to get into all the dark corners of it, so I'm not going to go over the morality of this. I'm not going to talk about anything outside the US, and I'm not going to talk about forced labor because that's a whole other set of situations. Trafficking is not monolithic or simple. Here's a legal definition of sex trafficking in the US. It includes force, fraud, or coercion, or it involves somebody who's under the age of 18. This definition takes a lot of different forms, kind of in the way that things happen. Being at Booth, we have to talk about the market-based economy here. This is driven by demand, and it flourishes in areas where there's high profit potential and low risk. Unfortunately, in the US, that's the situation in a lot of cases. There's a lot of profit to be made in this industry. Here's some figures, 100,000 children in the sex trade in the US each year. That's from the Polaris Project. They are an anti-trafficking group in the US. There's certain cities that are hotspots for this, particularly Seattle. Chicago is also one of them. We're going to talk about that. One thing I want to go through quickly, if you are forced to prostitute, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily have a gun to your head. It could mean a lie, it could mean a trick, it could mean manipulation. In these situations, victims have a lot of incentive to lie, too, because it could be prosecuted themselves. This is from a DePaul survey in Chicago. 16 was the average age of entry into the sex trade in Chicago for the women surveyed here. 51% were reported had to take more than 10 clients a day. This was last month in Schiller Park. Authorities closed down this house. These 3 were holding 6 women by force and were taking all the profits. If that's not trafficking, I don't know what is. So I depressed you all now, right? So now I'm going to talk about what to do. Fortunately, there's a lot that we can do, especially as Boothies. We're really empowered to kind of take action on some of these problems and make a difference. So the first thing that we have to do, if it goes to the next slide here, is learn. There's a lot of misconceptions here, especially in the US. In the US, there's a lot of conceptions that people who are in prostitution want to be there, that if they don't want to be there, they would get out. That if they are being forced, it means they're getting beaten up. That those aren't always true. The next thing that we can do is donate time. There's a couple organizations in Chicago where you can actually volunteer to help some of these women. Honestly, money, guys, we're going to have some of it, hopefully, after we graduate. And these organizations do need funds to run. The next thing we can do is advocate. There's a lot of bad laws in the US that allow these things to happen. In Illinois, it's a felony to be a prostitute, a felony. So if you're forced into it, what incentive do you have to go talk to the police? None. Some things that we can advocate for: better treatment of women who are arrested under these situations. In Sweden, there's a law that it's not illegal to sell sex, it's illegal to buy it. So it flips the equation and allows police to chase the traffickers and the johns instead of the women. Ask questions. This is a tough one, guys. 79% of johns have attended college, 61% have a regular partner, 50% are white, 50% have children. There's a high likelihood we will work with some of these people. If you know someone who's into this, ask questions. Here's some trafficking red flags. The more that you learn, the more you can educate your friends, the more hope that you have that someone who's in this situation can know it and can call somebody and get that person help. Especially the big one here is having a pimp or a manager. A lot of the women who work in this situation, if they have a pimp, they don't handle any of the money. That takes a lot of control away from them. Last thing you can do is speak up. If you see something that's fishy, if you hear one of your friends say something fishy, if you have any idea that any of this is going on, there's a lot of anonymous hotlines that you can call and give law enforcement some information. Last thing is, talk to me about this. I love talking about it. It's a passion of mine. Please contact me. I'd love to talk more. Thanks, guys.